Welcome back, guys. As you can tell by the title of this video, I am participating in SUMMERWEEN. This is the first time that I am participating in SUMMERWEEN, and I will say that I have pre-recorded the vlog clips of me reading these books. I don't know if that violates the laws of SUMMERWEEN, and if it does, please feel free to send me to jail. SUMMERWEEN is a readathon that is hosted by Gabby Reads. I think that this is a readathon that has been going on for 5 years now that most of the book community partakes in. Actually, I started my YouTube channel last year in 2023. I want to say maybe like sometime in March, April, unsure. I should probably know when my anniversary on booktube is, but I wanted to participate in SUMMERWEEN this year. The intent of SUMMERWEEN is to get you to read spooky types books in the middle of the summer to kind of bring that Halloween feeling into the summer. SUMMERWEEN this year is taking place from July 5th to July 11th, and Gabby posted a while ago what all the prompts are for SUMMERWEEN. The first one is to read a book in the dark or at night. The second one is to read a thriller or horror. The third one is to read a book with a night sky on the cover or any sky. The fifth one is to read a book with 5 or more words in the title. And then the fifth one is to read a book that takes place in the summer or gives summer type vibes. Now, as I mentioned, I have already pre-recorded most of my SUMMERWEEN vlogs. And I know most people do like 3 or more vlogs for this week of SUMMERWEEN, but your girl cannot do that because I have a full-time job and therefore I need to be at work, which is why I pre-recorded a lot of these vlog clips. So in this video, we will be fulfilling the prompt of reading a book with a night sky, reading a thriller horror, or reading a book in the dark. I will say for some of these prompts, I did take liberties with them because personally for me, it was kind of hard to find books that I wanted to read and books that would fulfill the prompt. So I kind of bended the rules a little bit for myself. Again, if I'm violating any kind of SUMMERWEEN laws, straight to jail for me. But that is enough about that. We can go ahead and get started with the video. I finished reading The Only Good Indians. I read it over the course of 2 days. That might sound like I was live, laugh, loving with this book, but quite frankly, I was not. The premise of the story is that we have a group of men who are Native American that went on a hunting trip a long time ago. And in the present day, there is an elk from this hunting trip that's been haunting them. Apparently they weren't supposed to be hunting on those grounds and they massacred a bunch of elk and they massacred this one elk. I won't get too into it, but that has somehow placed a curse on them. And in present day, this elk curse has been picking them off one by one. I did like the first 1/3 of this book. I thought the first story of the guy that the elk was going after was just like very compelling. But then after that, like the second part of the book, I just like couldn't care about. Like the first 30% of the book, I was like, okay, cool, I'm into it. Then the 60% of the book, I was like, I'm just confused. Am I stupid? I don't understand. And the last 10% of it, I was like, okay, good, I like that. So I'm gonna give this a 2 stars because the way that the writing in this book was all over the place. Like we started off following this one character that it was implied that he was killed within like the first like 20-30 pages of the book. But then he came back in the last 1/3 of the book and I'm like, is this man dead or not? Please explain yourselves. This book was also being told in first person and second person narrative, and my brain just was not doing that flip very quickly when it would change. So I'm like, who is telling the story? Is the elk telling the story? Because sometimes that's what it seemed like. Or is it the guy telling the story? Like I was just confused. And then the other thing that confused me is that there was this one character that was like in 1/3 of the book, she was off, but then she came back in the last 1/4 of the book. I'm like, are you dead or are you not? Is this the curse? I don't understand. This was gonna sit at a 1 star for me, but that last 10% of the book actually had me caring about the person. So 2 stars. I would try another Stephen Graham Jones novel again. I'm not gonna completely write him off, but for right now, I am gonna unhaul this book. It's gonna go on Pango. I will leave the link to my shop down below. So that's a bit unfortunate that this is the way that this is going. I have finished The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. I meant to check up with you guys a lot earlier. However, I recently went on a work trip to California, and this is the book that I took along on that work trip for reading during the flight and any free time I had. However, because it was a work trip, I did not have a lot of free time to record, so I'm giving this to you now. The Good Daughter follows these two sisters, Samantha and Charlotte. Samantha is the older sister. This is a thriller book. We start with them being very young. They live down in Georgia in a small southern town, so just think southern politics, southern cops kind of situation. And they live with their mother. They call her Gamma. Her mother is a well-renowned scientist, so Gamma is in gamma rays. That's kind of her nickname. And their dad is a defense lawyer. He's notorious for taking on the worst of the worst criminal cases. He's just a guy that believes that even if you have committed some heinous crime, you're still entitled to the right of a good lawyer and due process and all that fun stuff. So we start off with them as kids, and they're at home, and there's a knock on this door, and two intruders with guns come in. They are thinking, because their dad is a well-renowned criminal defense lawyer, these are probably two people that owe money to their dad and are looking to erase that debt. They end up killing the mom, Gamma. They say that there's no money in this house. They used to live in this farmhouse that burned down, and with that goes everything that they pretty much own, so they're like, we don't have any money. So they take the two daughters out into the woods, planning on, getting rid of them. And Samantha tells Charlotte once there is a moment and she's able to distract the intruders to run to get away. Samantha is shot in the head and buried alive, and Charlotte is able to run and get away. And then we flash forward about 30 years where Charlotte is an adult. She is accidentally caught up in a school shooting, and the story just takes off from there. She's not meant to be at the school shooting, and there is kind of a conspiracy, I guess you would say, about the school shooting that she is meant to solve with her father. And that's pretty much all I want to say about this book. There is a plot twist that happens, I want to say a quarter of the way into the book, that I was just like, didn't see that coming. And then there was another plot twist towards like the very end of the book that I was like, also did not see that happening. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I mean, I really liked it, but trigger warning for the R word, for abuse, for physical violence, obviously for school shooting. There are some passages in this book that will never be able to erase from my brain. Karen Slaughter just has a way of writing really graphic scenes that will stick in your brain for forever. Also, this book is over 500 pages long, and I feel like we could have gotten rid of at least 100 of those pages. This book is a thriller, but it's also more so a character study on the sisters, on the dad, on the mom, like basically that entire family, more so than it focuses on the thriller. I wish I had known that before going into this book, because I feel like I would have been more prepared as to what the outcome would be. I still gave it 4 stars, and I'm going to keep this book for now, but I feel like this is a 4-star that I don't think that I'm going to look back and go, oh my god, I love that book. But it is going to stay with me because of how the character development was done in this book, and because of the way that it was written. I was truly blindsided by those plot twists. I did not see that coming. But again, I would recommend it. Just be careful of the trigger warnings on this one. So this satisfied for me reading a thriller/horror book for SUMMERWEEN. The next book I'm going to read is Confessions by Kanae Minato. I think that is the name. That is a book that was translated from Japanese. I don't know very much into that book, but that is a book that I'm going to read at night. So I will start that tonight. I think that book is a little over 200 pages. The audiobook is 6 hours. But I listen to my audiobooks on 2 times speed, so I'll probably be able to finish that tonight while I'm in bed reading in the dark. Hopefully that's not that scary. So I will check in with you guys later tonight. It's not as dark in here as I thought it was gonna be, but I'm checking in with you guys because I'm reading Confessions by Kanae Minato. I don't think that's right, but it is a book that was translated from Japanese, and this book is gonna fill the prompt of reading a book in the dark. But like I said, it's not as dark in here as I thought it was gonna be. So Confessions is about this teacher. It's set in Japan is what I'm understanding, but it's about this teacher who got all of her class together, and she's telling her classroom that she knows one of you guys killed her daughter. And that's how the story starts. She starts off with telling them that she knows who the killer is, and she kind of monologues a little bit, but she's like, I'm retiring from the school because I'm about to get this killer. So that was the first chapter. The first chapter was pretty long. This book is actually only about a little over 200 pages, but the first chapter was 45 pages long, which is like a lot. The second chapter, which is the one that I'm on now, is told from the perspective of a female student. So I think either the book is going to continue to flip back and forth between the teacher, or it's going to change to other perspectives of other students until we can find out who is the killer and what happened to the teacher's daughter. But I'm in it. I'm great. I'm hooked. I think I only have like 2 hours left of the audiobook. Like I said, it's really short, and I'm going to try to finish it tonight and give you guys an update. So let's get back to reading. Okay, it is fully dark outside. It was dark before, but the sun was just setting, but I guess whatever. It's the nighttime, and I am reading Confessions, and I've gotten a little bit more deeper into it. I'm just a little confused as to why everyone was so shooketh as to what's happened in this book, because I feel like the teacher at the very beginning told us who the killer was, and I'm not seeing the twist. Like, where is the twist coming? Can we please explain? But I have about like 60 pages left to read in the book, so I guess I'm gonna read that, and then maybe I'll check in once there's a twist, or maybe I'll check in at the very end. I don't know, but we're just gonna keep reading. This light that I have on right now is the light off of my iPhone, because if I were to film right now, we would be in pitch black. So that is the update that I have for you right now. Let's get back to reading. Okay, guys. Ooh, this is unflattering lighting, and I have my retainers in. But I finished reading Confessions, and
the woman was too stunned to speak.
That was shocking. It was shocking. Did not see that coming. It was a little bit fucked up, to be honest. I think I'm gonna end up giving it 4 stars. It wasn't what I wanted it to be. I thought there was gonna be a twist with that thing that happened in the beginning, but that wasn't the twist. It was something else. It was still fucked up. I still enjoyed it. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I'm so tired. It's past my bedtime, and I feel like I can't say any more about this book without spoiling it for you, so I'm just gonna let it be at that. I will check in with you guys tomorrow morning. Okay, I'm back here to give you a wrap up of all the books that I read for this vlog. So the first one I read is The Only Good Indians, and this is gonna fulfill the prompt of reading a book with a night sky on the cover. This was the one I took some liberties with, because as you can tell by the cover of The Only Good Indians, you can't blatantly tell if it's at night. I mean, honestly, it kind of looks like a deer caught in headlights that might be at the night. But I gave this book 2 stars. I found the writing and the timeline and the pacing of the book really hard to keep track of. Also, didn't find this book to be any kind of spooky ooky. The elk curse didn't scare me at all. I honestly felt like everyone who got in this book deserved it for what they did to those elks, except for the little girl at the end of the book. If you know, you know. I would try reading another Stephen Graham Jones book. Even though I didn't like his writing, I just want to maybe give him a second chance. Maybe another one of his books I might vibe with a little bit more. And then the next book I read was The Only Good Daughter, which fulfilled the prompt of reading a thriller or horror. I gave The Only Good Daughter 4 stars, and I really liked this book, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I was really expecting a thriller kind of in the veins of The Last Housewife or In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but I would say that this is less thrillery. Don't get me wrong, it still had some plot twists, but it was more an exploration of Charlotte and Samantha and them being sisters, as well as their relationship with their dad. Like I said, don't get it twisted. I still like this book. I just want you to know, if you're going to pick up this book, that is more about character development and more about sisterhood than it is a thriller. And the next book I read was Confessions by Kenny Minato, and this is a book that was translated in Japanese and it took place in Japan. This was another book that I, in my head, built up what the plot twist was gonna be, knowing that this was a thriller. I just thought that the plot twist that I developed in my head was a lot better than what was in the book. Honestly, if you're going into this book for kind of like some kind of twisty, shocking plot twist, it ain't it, girl. It's still really good. Again, don't get it twisted. I like this book. I give it 4 stars. After reading this book, I do want to read more translated books. So I guess for this first vlog, it was a success, because I gave 2 books 4 stars, and then one book, unfortunately, I gave it 2 stars. I will be releasing another SUMMERWEEN video that's going to come out a couple days after this one, where I fulfill the prompts of read a book that gives a summer vibes or take place in the summer, and then read a book that has more than 5 words in the title. I will say to Gabby that it was kind of rude for that prompt of reading a book with more than 5 words in the title, because I kind of struggled. I really, for this video, wanted to pick books that were already on my TBR, and I had to really think and put my brain together for reading a book with 5 or more words on the title, because most of the books I were looking at had 4 words, and I was like, how do I take some liberties with this? But I decided not to and to stick with the prompt. And my dog is in the background. She is ready for me to say goodbye. So that's what we'll do now. If you like this video, please subscribe, please like, please leave a comment, and I will see you guys in another video in the next couple days. Bye!